We have one addition to the agenda, and that is the ambulance director has a proposal that he would like to make. So do I hear a motion to approve the agenda with one addition?
I approve the agenda with this one addition.
Do I hear support?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Christenberry, seconded by Grandner, to approve the agenda with one addition. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign.
Is he going under appointments or
I'm sorry, that's under appointments.
okay.
Be right after Mr. McSwain. Mr. Davis, it's been brought to my attention to ask you, who are you filming for?
I have been asked to record on behalf of the Tea Party in the county.
The Tea Party?
Yes.
I also have complaints from the public that this is going on YouTube and that they do not wish to be videotaped and put on YouTube. So just so you're aware that you will not video anyone who does not want to be on YouTube. Is that correct? You understand that?
Yes, I understand that.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. We have approval of the Board of Commissioners' official minutes for November 12th. Are there any corrections or additions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. We accept the minutes for November 12th, 2013.
I support.
I have a motion by Grantner, supported by Berner, to approve the minutes for November 12th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Approval of the Board of Commissioners meetings or closed session minutes for November 12th. Any corrections or additions? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the Board of Commissioners closed session minutes for November the 12th, 2013.
Do I hear a second?
I'll support it.
I have a motion by Christenberry, supported by Berner, to accept the closed session minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Public comments regarding the agenda for today. Are there any public comments? Hearing none. First order of business is Mr. Cy Weekly. I'm sorry. Weekly. I stand corrected. Cy?
Old age side.
What I'm asking for, Board, you have a resolution in front of you for the South Dakota County 2013 Fair Housing. And this is a requirement from state and federal funders that South Dakota County recognizes that we cannot discriminate in the sale or rental, leasing, financing of housing because of religion, race, color, gender, physical, mental disabilities, or national origin, age, height, weight, or marital status. And it's required that we adopt this on an annual basis. I think we may have missed a year. And actually we missed a year prior. It goes back to like 2007, but Michigan was monitored by HUD, and they goes, oh dear, let's bring this up to date. So they're bringing us mid-season, so to speak, to bring the 2013-2014 resolution in front of the board, and so that I ask that this resolution be adopted.
So, did we run an ad in the paper on this, or?
Every time that we advertise, whether it be in all of our correspondence, all of our bid requests, they all have the Fair Housing logo on it, so that they are aware that and all of our clients are furnished a fair housing pamphlet. And so, in that respect, everybody that we deal with
It's
is
covered.
recognized, that's correct.
Okay.
So what is our pleasure?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution 213-011, Oscoda County 2013 Fair Housing.
Do I hear support?
I'll support. Go ahead, Lee.
I'll support.
I have a motion by Wilson, supported by Christenberry, to adopt the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So be it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Si. Mr. Kaufman, did you want to introduce Mr. McSwain, or shall we just have Mr. McSwain do his presentation?
He's ready to roll.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. So I'm Rob McSwain, Northeast Michigan Member Relations Manager for Merit Network. And I have a quick slideshow here.
Could someone please extinguish the lights? Thank you.
There we go. So thank you for having me here today. My purpose here today is to review the agreement that we have signed, show you the benefits of that agreement as we move forward. We're entering the final phases of approval for a Department of Homeland Security grant to connect the Oscoda County campus, including the ambulance service. So I just wanted to run through that. I've been in front of the board before, but Dan and I spoke. It bears review, so we wanted to take a look at that. One of the things that is my understanding has occurred, which is a benefit of the project that I'm going to talk about, is there's some competition in the area now. So we're seeing some responses from some of your vendors locally, so I'll address that as well.
Is that still off then?
Oh, yeah. Thanks. So again, my name is Rob McSwain. I'm based out of Alpena, Michigan, so I have an office there. My region extends as far south as Midland, as far west as I-75, that area. So I always smack dab in the middle of it and smack dab in the middle of our project. Merit Network is a nonprofit 501c3. So we've been in business over 40 years. Originally, we were started to connect Michigan State, University of Michigan, and Wayne State University. And at the time, back in the 60s, when we came to be, the only project that was comparable was out west, ARPANET, which is the predecessor to the Internet. So eventually, at one time, if you get connected to the Internet in Michigan, you connected through Merit. And things have changed vastly since then. In 1990, we expanded beyond just the state-run institutions and began connecting higher education, community colleges, K-12 schools, libraries, government, healthcare, and other nonprofit organizations. And then in 2010, we received a grant to build fiber throughout Michigan. There were two phases to that grant, totaling $120 million with a 20% match from Merit. Also included in that project were some commercial entities that paid their 20% and built fiber as well. So I won't spend a lot of time singing our praises. We've completed our network. We're all the way from Monroe, Michigan to the tip of the UP, down through Wisconsin, down through Minnesota, which I'll discuss. What I'm here to talk about is the agreement that was signed back in June of this year. And what this means, what all these pieces are, and what you get for that commitment. So a 1 gig fiber connection, what does that mean? For Merit, that means a 1,000 meg connection to other members on our backbone. And I'll show you those members in a minute that are important to you. We have a 10,000 meg or a 10 gig backbone throughout the state, which means we have capacity to support all our members and more. And then we have full redundancy via fiber loops. So on-net traffic, that's the value of merit. So anyone connected to our network, the minute you connect those two fibers to your organization, you're connected to those other members. Again, the capacity of the backbone allows up to a gig or 1,000 meg of communication between our members at no additional charge. So instead of purchasing a T1 to connect to Iosco County is already on our network. That's included within your connection. So here's, and it's difficult to see the labels here, but we have Alpena County connected currently. We have Montmorency County connected currently. Alcona County, Iosco County, Crawford County, Gladwin County, and Aranet County are already signed and connected to our network. I'm actively working with Presqu'île County, Roscommon County, and then Ogama County. I've had meetings with, I can't say there's a movement there yet to join the network. So what does that mean for you? Well, we're connected to Iosco County. Currently you have a 56K circuit, which is like the old modem connection, connecting to them for access to database services and I think to do with the court system. So we already have that connection in place. Pay roughly $200 a month for that. That could go away. Video connection to Montmorency. It's my understanding you do distance court or video arraignment with Montmorency County. It's also my understanding that it's very frustrating. The throughput is not enough, so you see glitches. Sometimes it's unusable. It's very frustrating for those that use it. We already have that connection to Montmorency County, so you wouldn't need the current connection that you have there. It'd be much faster at 1,000 meg. And then 911 virtualization. So this is a huge project that's going on in Region 7, which allows the 911 centers, eventually, once they are all up to date with the same CAD system, the same GIS system, to move the console to another county. So say a tornado blows through Alcona County and wipes them out. If they are connected to the network, so they would be able to transfer their console to, say, Oscoda County to take care of the emergency dispatch for them at that time. There's been several instances where phone lines have gone down. Lately, this connection to this network would allow you to transfer when the technology is in place and everyone is up to speed, so that you don't have those outages. You still have dispatch without having to drive to the fire department, having to drive to the sheriff's department. These are the local governments that we currently have on our network. And I listed the ones in my region on that map, but these are additional counties, municipalities that are on our network currently. Many of them, Alcona, Alpena, Crawford, are preparing to share that GIS data back and forth. So you can see there's many opportunities to connect with your peers. Can you share a server in another county? Can you host a server for another county and share the cost to keep an operating system that both of you need running? Can you share resources? Can you have a dispatcher fill in Oscoda County for a dispatcher in Montmorency County? The sky's really the limit, because now we have the 1,000 meg connection to these locations. So you no longer have the restriction that you can't transfer data fast enough to perform the functions. We also have a 2 gig connection to the state of Michigan. So that gives you access to the qualified voter file, the LEAN network, LG network, and future database connections as required by the state. So I think everyone's aware that the state government is pushing for collaboration and consolidation of certain services. Once you're connected to our network, you immediately have that connection into the state, and again, the sky's the limit. So what can you do? Can you eliminate a cost for a circuit to connect to the LEAN network, the local government network? Those things are all available to you as soon as you connect. It takes some work to get it done, but that's what I'm here for, to work with Dan, to work with you guys to find out where we can save money and provide better connectivity. So one example of what we've been able to do with this on-net traffic is Alpena Community College. So they were paying roughly $13,000 a year to connect to their Huron Shores campus in Oscoda, and they had to have it. I mean, they had to be able to get back to their student management system. They had to be able to communicate at a high rate with that location. When our fiber network came in and we were able to connect them to that campus, their cost went from $13,000 a year to roughly $2,000 a year. So it's huge savings for them. It allows them to put more money into programming and their educational initiatives and avoid paying for something that realistically should be at a lower cost. So redundancy, that's another huge benefit of this network. And I put the words across there because that's a bunch of technical mumbo-jumbo, and we can talk about course wave, division, multiplexers. But suffice it to say, we have one line running that keeps the backbone up at all times. We have another line that goes into each of our members, and then it connects back to that backbone every so often at our OADM sites. So redundancy within the line, if you lose one member, you don't lose everyone behind them. It carries on through that backbone. Another form of redundancy. So you can see the way we built the network. We built rings. So there's a ring here that goes up through Alpena, over this way through Atlanta, down over to Gaylord, down to Grayling, and back to Mayo. We have another ring that comes south, goes over to Roscommon, back up to Grayling, and this way. So what happens is, if we get a cut here, the traffic will automatically route this way. If we get a cut here, again, it can go this way, it can go this way, several different paths. And that's new and different to this area, because currently, and I think most of our competitors, or if not all, if they're cut here, they're done. There's no redundancy, there's no loop back to get anywhere else in the state. So here's another view. So I showed you the Northeast region and what that redundancy is. But if you look, we built a series of increasingly larger rings throughout the state, including a ring that goes all the way to Green Bay. So if we lost everything south of Mayo, traffic could route through Wisconsin and down. If we lost Green Bay and we lost the southern Michigan, we could route all the way over to Minneapolis and back down to Chicago, because that's where the commodity internet lives. When you go out to the World Wide Web, to Google, to Yahoo, it goes through Chicago and on through the rest of the nation. If we lost our connection to Chicago from all routes, we have a backup connection to Cleveland, which can also route out to the World Wide Web. So merit value. 10 megabit connection. What does that mean and what are the benefits? It's synchronous, which means we have one fiber in, one fiber out. So you have 10 megs in, or 10 meg capacity in, 10 meg capacity out. Our entire network is 10 gig. So as your traffic comes together with another location and another, that traffic builds. It won't exceed the 10 gig network. If it gets over 50%, we'll upgrade to 100 gig. We manage our entire network all the way to the internet. So if there's a problem, you call us, we say, okay, it's us. It's on us. We can get it to Chicago. We are managing that, and we own all the infrastructure. So what does synchronous means? Exactly what I said. You have one pipe in, you have access to 10 meg on that pipe, you have one pipe out. So with asynchronous, or a single line in, you're competing against yourself. So if you're uploading something and downloading at the same time, it's going to slow that traffic, because they both can't occupy the space at the same time. With two paths in and out, you don't have that competing against yourself. 10 gig capacity, like I said. So in some places we have two 10 gig lines going to the internet. All throughout the state, we're 10 gig from our OADM nodes all the way over to the edge of the UP, and then we provide even greater capacity here, 20 and 30 meg to the internet, just to make sure we don't have that pinch point. So that's where the internet lives, and anyone can provide that. Any provider can get to Chicago by purchasing lines, by leasing lines. The difference is we own the route all the way from Mayo to Chicago. So it's what I like to say, one throat to choke. You don't have someone telling you, well, it's out of our hands, this is AT&T down here, or this is Verizon that we lease from, so we're dependent on them. It's merit all the way from anywhere on our network down to Chicago. So this is a breakout of the one-time costs, and I've got the agreements and the pricing schedules in the packet that I left with you there. Basically, we have all equipment included, the cost to build fiber into the Sheriff's Department to hit your network, installation costs, all in our first year costs. Also, we have proposed a build to the ambulance service. So the ambulance service is not currently connected to the rest of the county campus. We included them in our proposal so that every building on the county campus, I believe, there may be one that's not, but every department is connected to your network and then connected to the Merit network. And the best news about this connection qualifies for a Department of Homeland Security grant. So these one-time fees will not come out of the county's budget. Because of the way that we connect to our network and the other entities that we connect, it's beneficial for emergency services to be able to participate in that network for the 911 features that I spoke of. As I mentioned, the ambulance service is included, so that covers a link that you won't have to take out of your budget to build to. We also eliminate their costs for internet service because they're currently paying a separate provider from the county campus and run them all through the county's connection. So our support model, we are a Michigan-based company. We have 3,800 miles of fiber. So how do we manage that and how do we become personal with you? First of all, we're located in Ann Arbor. Our entire support staff is located in our data center in Ann Arbor. So it's not automated. You don't push one, you don't push two. You get a human the first time you call, and it's not outsourced to another country. So it's an English-speaking Michigander that you talk with. Another important thing is you can call back and talk to the same person. So you don't go through that automated tree, get a new person that you have to explain everything all over again and start fresh with your problem. Regular follow-up. So our support staff is proactive in calling you to say, hey, we think this is fixed. Do you think it's fixed? And then a ticketing system that's available to you online. So you can see the status of any problem, any order, any upgrade, go through the process at our data center. 24/7 monitoring. So we constantly send a request out to the equipment that we put on site for you and ask, hey, are you okay? Is everything fine? Is traffic flowing? Generally, we will know before you that there's a problem with your connection. On our member portal, which administrative staff, IT people, whoever needs one can get a sign-on to this, it shows graphs of usage. So how much of the internet are you using? How much traffic is going to Iosco County? How much is going to Montmorency? You also have access to the agreements. The one that's in your packet there would be imaged and put out there, and other things that you can use, collaboration opportunities with other counties, distance learning opportunities, and training opportunities that we provide. We have local fiber crews under contract. So within my region, I don't think there's any spot that's less than 2 hours away. So you would have a local crew if there was a fiber cut and we had to repair that. Most likely you're never going to experience an outage because of the redundancy. But if the lateral into the county, say, was cut, we'd have someone here. Which, by the way, we manage and have responsibility for. If it has to go underground, if it gets cut, if there's a problem with compliance with the utility poles, you have no responsibility there for any fiber before it gets to the Sheriff's Department. I'm a local member relations manager, so I live and work out of Alpena. I'm just an hour away. Your satisfaction is my job, and I'll work closely with Dan and anyone else that you appoint to manage that relationship so that your problems are made known to the rest of the company, to our support staff. I keep equipment at my office, so I'm not a tech, but if I get on the phone with one of our ops guys, he can tell me how to replace, plug this into here, and get things fixed right away if there's an equipment problem. And then my cell phone is always available. It's a company phone, and I can be called at any time, day or night. So if you have frustrations, if there's an issue with something that you're not getting resolved, I'm here to advocate for you. So phone service, and I think there was a previous meeting where this issue was brought up. So I didn't want to get too deep into it, but I did want to explain kind of what we were proposing for phone service. So our service, it comes in 3 flavors, 3 levels. The one that we had proposed was simply dial tone, replacing the lines that you currently have into your phone system. Not touching the phone system itself at this point, just providing a lower cost option for phone service, long distance, local calling. So what would happen, it would flow over the network that we're bringing in for the internet. It would be separated off virtually and then connect into the phone system you have. It would be converted from the IP communication to what your phone system understands. And we've done this at many, many locations. Alpena Community College, Glavin District Library, Houghton Lake Public Library, we provide this service. So the next step, IP trunking is what that's called, and that's just bringing it in over the network, converting it to what your phone system understands. The next step, so say your phone system is starting to fail, or your phones are going down and you can't find replacements for that old system. We can bring in new IP phones, giving you all the functionality of an IP phone system, so voicemail, call forwarding, teleconferencing, all those things, and replace them one by one. So you don't have a huge capital expenditure to replace the phone system. And then finally, we could take over the entire phone system. You'd have a monthly budgetable bill. You wouldn't have to worry about maintenance. You wouldn't have to worry about paying a tech every time it broke down. We would be responsible for all of that. We would host it in the cloud so that if you had a fire where your phone system is, it wouldn't affect your phone service. These are just ideas, so I'm not saying that this has to happen. It's a natural progression, but the first step that we proposed was this. Just replace your lines and give you a better cost on your long distance, local, and the cost of those lines. We also provide services, so I won't turn this into a sales pitch, but we can put a server in our data center. Because of your high-speed connection to our network, you wouldn't have to purchase the iron, you wouldn't have to pay for the power, you wouldn't have to put in an air conditioner to cool it. We can host it in our data center with redundant power, with redundant connectivity. We also do email. I talked about the VoIP system. We do anything that cloud services covers. So that's a big buzzword now. We provide cloud services as well. So this is in the future. How can we help you lower your costs, maintain a more reliable system? And there's several ways that we can do that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what we've done in Alpena. Many years ago, before this project was completed, NOAA, so the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which we know as the Thunder Bay Sanctuary, wanted to conduct a video feed from Monterey, California. So they wanted to have cameras on divers, they wanted to see in real time what they were doing, they wanted to be able to tell them, hey, swim over there and check that out, I want to see that. So they didn't have the speed for it. They didn't have the connection for it, and nowhere in Alpena could provide it at a cost that they could afford. So Merit, working with the Northeast Michigan Fiber Consortium, brought in a 1 gig line from Charter, which we leased, and connected to the fiber infrastructure within Alpena. Because they agreed to share fiber and work together, they were able to split that cost over all these entities, provide better connectivity, and get access to internet too, which is very important for research and development. It's something that schools, K-12, higher ed have access to. It's a network like ours throughout the nation that's reserved for research. So because they were able to work together, split the cost, and we were able to provide the connectivity, they made that connection, and they've had several more events at the NOAA Center since then based on the new fiber that we brought in. The Fiber Consortium provides many benefits. Network connectivity, working through Merit, reduce cost, enhance collaboration. So they have monthly meetings. You can meet with your peers, other local governments, other entities that are doing new and innovative things to know what's coming up next. We provide discounted pricing on those services I talked about, and community education. So letting your community know what's out there and what you're doing for them. So a portion of the consortium is an economic development consortium. So they are able to provide high-speed connectivity to businesses if they meet certain criteria. So they provide employment opportunities, economic development as a key. They have strong ties to education, so they're educating their employees, they're helping to educate the community. An economic need, and that's almost always the case. So can they afford to bring in fiber all the way from wherever to fund that need? If not, we can provide that connection. And then commitment to remaining in the community. So if they get this high-speed connection, is it going to allow them to put down roots and stay in your community? Merit does not deal directly with commercial businesses, but the ACC EDC acts as a go-between. So we provide service to them, they provide it to those business customers who meet their criteria. Benefits for the community, so connectivity to high-speed education and research network. We currently have the schools in Mayo connected through CORE, so they have that 1,000 meg connection back to other CORE schools. They're sharing services. They're making a bulk purchase with bandwidth, and so are much of the library community. So Northland Co-op, we don't currently have the library here in Mayo. We're working to get those guys, but who knows in the future. So 1 gigabit attachment to your organization, that's what I talked about, the 1,000 meg speed to Montmorency, to Alpena, to Alcona, whoever you can collaborate with to share services. And all these benefits below there, distance learning, video conferencing, the 911 virtualization project that I spoke of. And then to spur economic development by offering high-speed services to organization. And that doesn't just mean connecting to Merit, that means the fact that Merit is here, the other companies have to get their stuff together and start providing an affordable service. So this is the current quote. I just wanted to go back through it. I listed the 1 gig fiber connection, which is a connection to other entities, the 10 meg in and out to the internet in Chicago, and then a monthly cost here with the one-times covered by that grant. Side-by-side comparison. So what does Merit provide? With a consortium connection, we can give you an overall internet connection of 125 meg for very little additional cost. I think our competitor is proposing somewhere around 10 meg. A synchronous connection, so 1 fiber in, 1 fiber out, no competing against yourself. On-net connect at no additional cost, so we're not going to meter that and charge you more because you need to make a connection to the state of Michigan. We have the capacity with a 10 gig backbone. We can add collaboration with the consortia to reduce costs and improve training. We have those cloud services I talked about. We provide discounted training at our facility in Ann Arbor for technical and for leadership. And grant funded one time. So this DHS grant, which is in the final phases, we just got some information to Dan to help them complete the final steps. You won't pay to have that fiber brought in here because it's covered by that grant. So, next steps. Confirm your intention to stand by the current agreement. Like I said, it was signed back in June, but we want to make sure you all understand what we're bringing to the county and are good with that, and will commit to Merit just like we're going to commit to you. Proceed with the project for the county and the ambulance service. So we already have all the engineering in place. You can see the pricing schedules and the quotes there that will connect both of those entities. And then later down the road, or whenever you're ready, find out if phone service makes sense to bring that in over our network. I know we can provide a reliable service at a discounted cost, but it is a change, so we'll need to work with your employees to make sure that they're ready for that. Discussion and questions? I mean, I nailed it.
When are we going to be connected, or when could we?
Well, we have to get the final sign off on the grant. I think all that matters, they have to do an environmental assessment, so they have to know exactly how we're coming into buildings and what our rope path is. We have that information, I believe, to Dan, so they have that. As soon as they say everything's good to go on the Department of Homeland Security grant, we will begin permitting. It'll probably be spring though, because the ground's going to freeze. We're going to have to get off the side of the road for the plows. But I would say early spring, late winter, we should have the line in and ready to go.
I don't want to stick my nose into Ogma's business, but what's their holdup?
So they're in a long-term contract, is my understanding, with a local provider there, and they're stuck there. They can't get out of it. There's also a fiber build, so they haven't pursued a grant to pay for the cost to bring it into the building. So that's sometimes an obstacle. Fiber can be $20,000 a mile to build. So even if a 1,000-foot build might cost $10,000 to $15,000. So I think that's kind of an obstacle. And then they have commitments with.
Do they know about the grant though?
They do. I met with I'm trying to think of his name, not the guy over IT there. I sat down with him and kind of gave him some quotes and some pricing. And I think eventually it will benefit them because they have a location right on 33 that they can't get any connectivity to, and it's a sticking point for them, and we go right by there. So, but they're a small community, so they're going to have to look at grants and opportunities, which are coming, by the way. There's more money out there for this connectivity, because I promise you the state's going to say, by the way, get on a network. Even if it's not ours, whoever it is, get on a collaborative network. And so I think down the road it'll be us, or it'll be one of our competitors who has stepped up based on the competition.
Could you start looking at our phone bill, system, our phone system, and see what the cost savings could be?
We've already done that. So based on your current pricing, I think, and you know what, well, I don't have it right now, but yeah, there was a savings of maybe a couple $100, I think, that we've already analyzed. So I did present a formal proposal. I think Dan brought that to one of the meetings.
Annual or monthly?
Monthly, I believe. Yeah. On your current pricing. So it's my understanding that was brought before the board and then kind of tabled because wanted to do a little more investigating for other providers. But the phone service is not dependent on the internet, and the internet is not dependent on the phone. So we'll offer the same price for either one, whether you take both or neither. And one thing I should point out, we're a cost-based pricing model. So whatever it costs us to maintain, to provide good service, to keep your equipment up and running good, plus an administrative fee is how we base our pricing. So we're not profit, but we have to have revenue, just like any entity. So we don't have the flexibility to say, okay, you don't like that, well here's another price. Pricing is what it is. Historically, internet connectivity has gone down in price and has for us over the past 2 or 3 years. So I look for lower costs as we go forward, not increase.
There wouldn't be any grants out there for new phone systems, would there?
I don't
Might as well ask.
Well, you never know. I think wasn't there talk of that or it was a separate issue from Department of Homeland Security?
I think with the redundancy abilities, it probably is a possibility, but they wouldn't pay for the service.
So what they might do is pay for the initial one-time cost to buy new phones for all the locations and bring them onto the same 4-digit dialing system.
Total upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. So we could host the phone service virtually in our data center, and then each phone would connect through our network back. And then, like I said, you get advanced features. Like one that I know that is popular with many governments is a paging system that can hit every location in the county. So if you have someone escape from court and they're running across the campus, you can hit one button and say, hey, this guy's out, be on the watch. Things like that become available when you have a unified phone system that is VoIP-based and can do some computing. Phones are basically small computers now. So you might get the one-timers taken care of, but ongoing service.
And you'll keep Dan posted on that if that ever comes up.
Yeah. No, it's if we have it available now, we could start tomorrow, but obviously there's budget concerns there. So we've worked close with Dan and Buffy to get the information required for this grant, and we're familiar. We attend many county the MAC meeting. I'm always there. We go to many collaborative meetings for the organizations to keep up on what's going on. So sure, we'll work closely.
Ron, you're hooked up on this too?
No.
So Ron, you're with
Road Commission.
Yeah, I got a message into you. I did give you a call. So yeah, that's a possibility as well. Because I think you guys are like right there. Yeah, and our fiber runs right by your front door. So it's
Well, we've got two things going here, one being the library and the other being the Road Commission.
sure.
I'm wondering why these two have been omitted from this proposal.
I think because we make one connection to the county and hit all the departments, the Road Commission requires a separate build into their location because there's no connectivity there. And then the library has E-rate considerations, so you guys get the E-rate discount. So they have to put out for bid. We have to respond. There has to be a competitive process. And again, they have a fiber lateral that would have to be built in there. So.
I did not understand a word you said.
So the county right now, you guys have done a good job of connecting all the buildings. So every building except for the ambulance service is currently connected. The Road Commission has no connectivity into the county campus.
Correct.
So that's one thing we have to organize. And I do, like I said, I did respond to a request from the Road Commission to meet up, but you know, it's crazy, it's fall. So we haven't gotten together yet to look at that, but it'll require a separate build that wouldn't be covered by that grant because it's not hitting the county campus. The library, so they receive USF funding for their connectivity.
Acronyms.
Yeah, so that you pay that bill on your cell phone bill. It's a cost to help education, library, schools provide connectivity to their patrons, their students. So you pay that fee every month on your phone bill.
If I
what's
can
it?
interject.
Sure,
Ron.
go ahead.
Jack, that gives the library, instead of paying, say, $100 a month, we get an 80% discount, so we only have to pay 20% of our bill through the USF discount.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so because that's a government-funded and heavily regulated to make sure there's no shenanigans with the filing, they have to put out a bid. It's a competitive bid. We have to respond, and they have restrictions on how much of it can be billed cost into the library. So there's an obstacle there to pay for the fiber. So they don't have the DHS grant opportunity that the county campus has, and I think that's probably, if we could get them all on the grant, I think it'd almost be a no-brainer. But there's cost considerations there.
And that's the same with the road commission. He couldn't take advantage of that one-time grant.
I suspect the road commission actually would qualify. I mean, we'd have to send out the AAF and see if it would be approved, but it does have an emergency tie-in, so I would expect it would. But the amount of money we were dealing with that grant year, this pretty much ate it up. So we have 13 money coming available shortly, and so that would be a possibility for that.
Obviously, we would work closely because it makes sense to have those guys included, especially if you look at a phone system. If we could throw them on the same phone system, save money for lines in, and they have the same functionality. So, yeah, and I've looked at the location, and it'd be a very minor bill to get in there. But again, you're talking thousands, not hundreds of dollars, and it's consideration that we need to look at. But grant funding, we'd obviously work closely to see about that.
Do we know where we're at on the grant at this point?
The AAF has been approved, and they need the EHP, which is the Environmental Historic Preservation Document, and we have taken all the photographs and have all the documentation we need. We just have, I think, 5 photographs to add the sketches and the drawings of where things will be added. Actually, all 5 are apparently done.
Yeah.
And so that document will be submitted either late today or early tomorrow. That has anywhere from 30 days to a 6-month turnaround at the state level. So
Right.
you'd be looking at spring, same time they'd be looking at building is around the time we would expect that approval.
And I worked with Iosco County 911. They went through the same process. They just completed their process, and the whole thing took less than 6 months. So I think in 2 weeks, I'm to hear from Bob Ray that we're good to go ahead and start permitting, because you can't do anything, you can't outlay anything that costs money until they say yes. So that's kind of what we're waiting on. From what I've heard, it's a foregone conclusion. It's a matter of getting them the information they need so that they can put their stamp of approval. So.
Those were the pictures you were taking yesterday.
Yes.
So what do you think about this, Dan? You're the IT guy.
You know what I think about it. I've talked to you about it on several occasions in the past, and I don't think anything's changed as far as that's concerned.
On behalf of the LAPT board, I did meet with Dan and take a list to the competition, this new company, told them what we were doing, what they were offering, what we needed them to do, and they have not got back to us. So they did get an opportunity to speak back, and they have a job.
Sure, I understand.
So the LAPT board put like 2 quotes just to see.
And that's what I say. I included the side-by-side comparison in your packet there because it's important to know that, as I said, anyone can get to the internet and provide that. It's that extra connectivity that we provide, and at no additional cost, that makes the difference. Because as you move forward in the future, if you have a company with a small footprint, you don't have access to things within their footprint. Someone with the entire state and then connection to the entire nation makes a big difference for what you can do. You're not limited by that connectivity any longer. So you have my card there. If there's further questions, feel free to email me, give me a direct call, let me know. If you want another input when you do put the two together, as I said, we have this signed agreement. I think we're the best choice. I don't think there's any reason to even mention that because I believe that the value is there. And hopefully I've shown that today. If you still have questions, give me a call because I'm willing to look at any of that stuff.
Well, thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you.
I do appreciate your spending the time with us and confusing me a little bit further.
Well, call me and I'll
Confusion will be.
try to. Yeah, no, I'll try to make it. I'm the same way. When I talk to our techs, I'm scratching my head a lot of times.
After talking to Dan, going up there, I'm all for merit myself.
Well, we
I'm way
appreciate
behind you because they have not responded.
I'm just gonna.
There is a very, how shall I say, concerned look on one of our participants, and I will allow you 2 minutes to make a statement if you would like to. Please.
Good morning. My name is Glenn Wilson. I'm with M33 Access. I just learned about the stuff going on very recently here. I heard last week about the fact you guys needed the bandwidth over there, and so we put together some numbers, and they were significantly less than what Merit is offering. I just sat through this half-hour presentation. Great sales job. It really, really doesn't necessarily answer your questions, okay? The speed of the internet, the connection you get to the internet is the connection you have. If a provider can't give you that speed all the way around the country, well then there's something wrong with that provider, okay? So the connection you choose to the internet is what you care about is the reliability. Our network is 100% underground fiber. We have 3 connections out to the internet: West Branch, Roscommon, and Grail. We're building this network up here in this community, even despite, no offense, the grant money coming in. Everybody says, well, this is grant money paying for it, this is grant money paying for it. It's tax dollars paying for it. And we've had to go up against Merit and bid because of like E-rate with the libraries and whatnot. And Kirtland put together a study. Just in the first 3 years alone, we saved our local communities, CORE and MAC, over $1.5 million over direct pricing against Merit. Then Merit comes in and gets $125 million of taxpayer money to build out our communities. But they forgot about the Fairview School completely, left them off the map. So we're the company, local company, all 32 of us local people here are the ones that build out the Fairview School. And if you ask them, they're very happy. And the reason why they don't have West Branch locked up is because we put fiber into the 911 building. And we didn't charge them tens of thousands of dollars. What we're talking about charging you guys to hook up the county building and EMS is less than half of what Merit is charging. We're going to hook up both buildings for $6 grand. Okay, that's less than half. The monthly savings at what we're talking about is going to save you hundreds of dollars a month right now over what Merit's proposing. I did not get a chance, I know my 2 minutes up, I didn't get a chance to put together a model. I didn't know I had a spot with a screen to put a map up here and show you what all is being done. But our company's up here right now ready to provide you service locally with people that live and local work in this area. When we say local, it's not Ann Arbor, it's not somewhere else, it's right here. And half of our employees live in this county.
Okay, I appreciate what you're saying.
So I got the quotes.
If you could make an appointment,
I
we would
was
be
told to come up here
happy
today
to
for this,
listen
so.
to your presentation at our next board meeting.
Okay.
I am doing this out of consideration for the concern that I saw on your face.
Okay.
We do not have a proposal from you, but we would be happy to have you.
I believe somebody
come
got a
back
copy
at
of the
next
proposal.
time.
So, somebody did get a copy of the proposal we sent. I was told
I
that
have
you guys
no
had a
idea.
copy of it.
Dan?
I had something that, I didn't bring it with me. I had something that I got from Joe.
Andy, would you hand me that? We did provide the numbers. If you didn't get them, I'm sorry that one of your employees didn't pass it down along your way, but here's some numbers that we had and had provided.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And is this what you were looking for, Mr. Wilson? Okay, we're gonna have to move right along at
But
this
that was
point.
provided.
We have a very long agenda.
Jeff got it to you guys. Jeff Mello got it to you.
We had what Jeff got to us. We
And those are
didn't
the
have
exact
what-
numbers.
Oh, that's
Gentlemen, we are
good.
going to move right along, and if Mr. Wilson would like
Well,
to
thank
make
you for
an
your time.
appointment for the next time, for the next meeting, I would be more than willing to make that.
I feel like I kind of got blindsided, didn't really have time to prepare for this, so,
Well, you're not the only one. And
oh, thank you.
I think I was very generous in allowing you the time.
I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving right along. Jason, you're up next for the ambulance department.
Alright, with this motion, I'm making a motion to purchase 4 new ambulances, well, correction, 2 new ambulances to remount 2 of our older ones. After, goodness, probably 4 or 5 months of research and battling back and forth trying to find the right number, I selected Braun through Kodiak out of Lansing, Michigan. They will provide the best price, the best service availability, and they met every demand we had. Because this is about a 42-page bid spec here, I kind of did the first couple pages and outlined everything for you. What we're looking at price-wise, with Kodiak, it's $648,992 to do, it's on the first page, or second page, sorry. And that's to do 2 remounts on White 3 and White 5 with propane conversion on gasoline chassis. This will be done as best they can with the cabinets inside to make them as close to what we have with the new trucks coming out. The 2 new ones will be Chief XL cutaways, and they'll have all the specific specs that I have in there, and then all 4 trucks will match consistently. The remount option is a considerably cheaper option buying 2, which is why on the second page you'll see if there's actually an alternative, which is 4 brand new trucks total. And that's at $606,000. They are actually a few $1,000s more than the next in line, which is McCoy Miller. The biggest problem we have with McCoy, and why I kind of chose Braun over McCoy, was the fact that they were unable to match the compartments inside on the remounted trucks. They could only do the ALS stack, which has the blanket heater and the fluid heater and cooler system. They couldn't match the cabinets inside of it, and that was one of the big drawbacks to it. For both remounts, they're going to be 4-wheel drive chassis on Type 1s. Silverado, they will be again gas with propane conversion. AEV was unable to do specifically any remounts with their boxes. They offered us 4 new ones, but they didn't feel comfortable doing 4x4 option or doing 4-wheel drive option. Now, I've never had a winter up here, and to me, 4-wheel drive ambulances seemed unnecessary until I got to drive around here even during the springtime and the summer. My crews highly recommend having at least one available to them, and in my opinion, both trucks are set up already to have the 4-wheel drive option, and Silverado chassis, we might as well just do 4-wheel drive for both of the remounts. It's only cost of $5,000 more per chassis to do that. I trust my crews with that and what they want to do, and they specifically say you need 4-wheel drive. I'm not going to argue with them. So, out of all the options available, Braun was the best choice for that. Braun. It's Kodiak out of Lansing. Braun is the first page, and that was my recommendation ultimately. At this point, I do know it's a very lengthy bid, and I encourage any questions you might have. One of the questions that we'll cover ahead of time, we opted to do something new and revolutionary this time around. We're not the first service to ever do this. We're the first service in the state to do it, and I brought propane into the picture for that reason. Propane will end up saving us ultimately in fuel costs exponentially. We're looking at half the price, literally, per gallon for fuel. The 2 services I talked to, both one in Indiana and one in Texas, there's also one in Tennessee that I didn't get a hold of, but they went to propane 100%. They had incredible results with it. They said their trucks run better, the maintenances are lower, their fuel costs are lower too, they had locked in deals. I did talk to AmeriGas and got a contract, or got the letter of intent with them, don't have a contract yet. The reason I didn't sign a contract with them was, 1, we didn't have the purchase rights, obviously, and number 2 is that if I did it now, it would be at propane rates for wintertime, not summer. If you lock it in the spring and summertime, we're looking at almost 50 cents difference. So, at the present rate with this, we'd be looking at $1.55 a gallon if we go by summer rates and based off of right now.
Have you talked to Rod in the maintenance department about propane?
I have actually. Rod and I have talked for 4 months about this. This morning he made a phone call. Actually, I made a phone call to him where he said that he didn't feel he supported the idea on it. Initially, he was for it. Initially, he was for gasoline. His concern with propane was the more logistical side. He didn't know where we were getting it from. He wanted to know what he thought. He was a firm believer we'd lose power in the ambulances themselves over it. Power meaning horsepower. The two services I did talk to said they didn't have any issues with that. They said the only thing they lost is they lost a mile per gallon on fuel. So instead of getting 12 miles a gallon, they're getting 11 to 10. So to me, that's a worthwhile transition, especially when we're talking about fuel costs being $37,000 for the past year.
So what is the warranty on propane system?
Presently, the ambulance manufacturer themselves is going to be an aftermarket add-on. Brown was supporting on it. They offered to offer us logistics for it and offer help design with it. ICOM is the company out of Detroit that does the propane conversion that I chose to go with. The next closest one is out of Chicago. ICOM said they'll cover the actual engine itself, the propane conversion system. The chassis doesn't have, the chassis, according to Brown, is not affected by the warranty itself. So the ambulance and the chassis themselves are fine. The engine's covered by ICOM itself.
So how long is the warranty for?
That's a good deal question, and I don't have it right with me, but I believe it's 10 years. Don't hold me to that, though.
I went online and I did some research, and 3 people said over 100,000 miles they had to rebuild the whole propane system.
Okay.
But that's just 3 others. You got some.
Where were they from?
I don't know what's going on. It's
Right.
very.
Where were they from?
Oh gosh, one was from Illinois, one was Ohio. I can't remember the third. I think Florida.
Were the ambulance providers, or who was their manufacturer?
They were on propane. One was ambulance, one was a fire department, and the other one was just a local business.
Okay.
I'd have to say,
Yeah.
one of the ones that's been running propane for a long time is Schwann's. Because my Schwann truck was a propane, and I drove it a lot of miles. I don't remember ever rebuilding an engine, so I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just.
Actually, believe it or not,
It's a much cleaner burning fuel.
yes, it is.
Question is, where are you going to get your propane?
Propane, as I said, I went to 3 different people. Went to Blue Point here in town, who offered me $4.50 a gallon, which is obviously not acceptable. Fick, is it Fick Brothers or Fick?
Fick and Sons.
Fick and Sons offered me a comparable rate to AmeriGas they're out of Houghton Lake, or I'm sorry, out of Great Lake. The problem with them is that we had to buy the pump through them, and they would supply us the fuel. AmeriGas offered to put a pump in place at the station for us. All we're required to have is insurance to match it, or comprehensive insurance to match it. And that estimated rate's about $500 a year for that. So at the present time, those are the 2 best options. Third option was kind of out of the question. We also have 2 other options in town. Blue Point also does offer a pump 9 to 5, and also maintenance repair up by the airport, the Ivor as well. That's also 9 to 5. Yes, thank you. Blair Sassels and Weldy's for RVs. So.
What are you going to do in the long run if you're down in Ann Arbor? You need propane.
Well, that's actually what I'm
talking top dollar.
Well, we're talking 2 different things. One, if we get allied up with a contractor like Fuelman, for example, who does carry propane in some places, we'll have places outmarked for that. The other thing too is these are combination fuel vehicles. So with the combination of propane and gasoline, they can get to Ann Arbor and back on that amount of mileage, and they can always stop and get gasoline as opposed to propane if they can't get it. It's not going to be an issue as far as that goes. That was one of my big concerns too.
So your proposal is for combination engines?
Correct. Propane and gasoline. We can go strictly propane, and they do make trucks available. However, the ambulance providers are not able to warranty it. As far as putting actual building the ambulance onto a chassis, they do make one, but it's not a viable option. So it's for a combination engine. The other thing too, the replacement engines and the replacement costs on parts are considerably cheaper. A diesel engine costs between $10,000 and $12,000 brand new to replace. A gas engine costs between $3,000 and $4,000. So if we hypothetically had a blow and it hypothetically wasn't covered by warranty at 100,000 miles, you're talking $3,000 for an engine versus $12,000. They also do make propane available for diesel, but it's an added expense, and we still have to carry the DEF tanks on board, urea tanks for diesel, which is another hassle in itself. We actually do have the option available with this to go to diesel instead exclusively. The only problem with that is that the budget amendments from last year, or the budget proposal for next year, was based on the ability to cut our expenses in maintenance and cut our expenses in fuel. And this is the solution I have for that. The diesel cost would be $4,000 more for Braun per truck to go to diesel only.
Are these 4x4s?
2 of them are 4x4s and the remounts, the other
The
2 are
two new
2-wheel
ones or
drives.
the?
2 new ones are
old ones?
2 new ones are 2-wheel drive. The 2 remounts are going to be the 4-wheel drive on the Silverado chassis.
You got down here 2014 remount W3 and W5 Type 1 with chassis, Chevy.
Yep.
Down here, you got the same thing with a Ford 350 chassis.
Actually, yes and no.
You're
You're right, it's there.
It's confusing.
It is confusing. 2014 was supposed to be on 3, was supposed to be on 3 and 5. The remount was supposed to be got moved in there.
So we're gonna stick with Chevy?
Yes, we're sticking with Chevy. The alternative I had them create, because to make all bids fair, I had to create an alternative which allowed us to do 4 brand new ambulances. So Braun put their proposal on saying they couldn't do a renew, or they couldn't do a brand new one on a Chevy chassis. There was just not a weight load for that. They couldn't do it.
The Ford was so much more.
Yeah, yes, it is more. It's considerably more.
Yeah.
So if you do 4 ambulances brand new, that was their solution to it. McCone Miller was able to do it, and it was considerably more, but they could do it on a Chevy chassis. AEB was not able to do remounts. They were able to do 4 brand new ones, and the price is $556 for those. But they said they weren't able to do 4-wheel drive. It's a pretty
Not having 4-wheel drive.
it's a pretty complex
I
bid.
drove for 3 years, I didn't have 4-wheel drive, and
You want to check with Blair's how many record calls we had just last year in the winter with our 2 ambulances we got now? And how many we had with White 5 with 4-wheel drive?
with 4-wheel drive.
White 5 is.
But 5's not the nice.
So,
Yeah,
I guess what we're saying, 4-wheel drive isn't the answer then.
It is.
Sucker.
It only had 1 call. The other ones had calls everywhere. Service-wise. Just think we need 4-wheel drive up here.
What was the additional cost for 4-wheel drive?
On brand new ones, it's pretty substantial. The alternative McCoy gave us was $179,000 a piece.
Versus,
Versus 126. I'm sorry, correction, versus 170, actually, no, that's not bad, 176 on their remounts. We're looking at 180 for Braun, and for the remount, or for the brand new one, their series is 144 versus 126, 125. So you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 more.
so, when you say a remount, that's putting a new chassis under the box?
Correct. And do that.
And what do we do with the old chassis?
Old chassis can still either give it to us, do whatever we want to do with it. It's given back to us ultimately, and we can decide what we want to do with it.
So we could get some gearheads out there that want a
If they would like to.
chassis that was new.
Correct.
So we have some possible
Money coming back?
money coming back
Yeah.
from that?
If you look in the quote too, if you look under the subtotal, it'll say subtotal and it'll say less money.
On which one?
All of them have it actually. But if you look on the second page where it says Kodiak, which is the first page. If you look at total, it's 611, 746, less 42,000. We have a firm offer from Otsego County from Alpena, which would be, Otsego County's right, for $42,000, and it's hard firm for both White 2 and 4. I may be able to do better than that, but that's a solid firm. They'll write us a check tomorrow for it if you want. That's for-
42,000 per?
No, for each one, or for together, 21,000 apiece.
Okay, 21,000 apiece.
Correct. I may be able to do better, but that's a firm offer, so I was able to use it.
I personally would go with diesel 4x4 chassis. I would do away with the propane myself.
Okay.
Get what we need and what we could use. Because you're talking how much money to put a propane tank into the ambulance service.
Actually, our cost is nothing on that.
Insurance-wise,
Insurance-wise, it's $500 a year.
and you're gonna have your girls out there at 5 in the morning putting propane in an ambulance.
Versus putting gas or diesel in at the ambulance service, or at the gas station, yeah. I have no problem with that. It's not a complicated process.
I'm against the propane.
It's probably, again, I have no problem going back to diesel again. I grew up on diesels with ambulances. But the thing about it is we're looking at a budget crunch, we're looking at saving money. It's a substantial savings for us to go to propane.
It's just the diesel can go 4 times longer than a gasoline engine. Proven facts. Overhauls.
I'm guessing, not seeing that.
When's the last time a Y5's been overhauled? How old is it?
Y5 would be, well, actually 2006 it got main, oh no, that was 3. 3 got mains in 2009. Before that, the overhaul was, I believe, 2003.
Just over, just a head job was done, but
Okay.
I'm just saying, the facts are diesel's a lot better than gasoline, and Rod will back that up. He's had both.
I tend to agree with what Larry's saying from the standpoint that, if I'm not mistaken, Rod would have to be trained in order to work on the LP engines. Is that not correct?
The engines themselves are gasoline engines. They put a modification on, which is basically piping and wiring into the system to inject propane into it. That's the extent of the modifications, and there probably would be some training involved with it, yeah.
The state of Michigan will make him get recertified, and he's not gonna do that. It's just,
My primary concern with this, again, is the being pain.
I agree, we need 2 new ambulances. We do need
We need
2.
4 new ambulances.
And we need diesel, and we need 4-wheel drive.
If we add diesel to the actual bid itself and make it into that, we're looking at $4,000 more a truck. So, I mean, I'm not against the idea of diesel, what I've always known in EMS. This is just a new idea that would actually reduce money and costs for fuel, and that's what I'm looking at primarily.
I don't think that's gonna save much.
I think it would. All you need is in one crisis, again, like shut the Suez Canal, and gas prices and diesel prices would go through the roof. In this country, where our power is in natural gas and propane, not in solid fuel. Like I said, nobody can tell the future, but I do know gas prices aren't going to go down to $1.29 again. It looks like diesel's hanging around $4 per gallon.
The other advantage to propane is we'd be going into a locked-in rate, or pretty close to a locked-in rate. So we know what we're going to be paying is a better anticipation, whereas like I said, it's variable with diesel and gas.
Your thoughts, Bob?
Now again, do we have to make a motion? I mean, because Jason is the supervisor and he's in charge of his budget.
We are.
No, we've got to allow him to purchase it.
Okay.
It has to come from us.
Come from us. I don't know, what do the rest of you think?
Bob, you haven't said anything yet.
Well, I just wanted to look into this more, because I didn't get all the facts. But I don't, like you say, with Rod, the maintenance, what he does, if that's gonna interfere with him, since he does most of the maintenance. Now with this propane mixed with gas, I don't know if he's gonna have to get qualified for it or what. Which, like what you said, given the different ambulances, 2 new ones, rebuilding the other ones, and 4-wheel drives, I know they're gonna be lighter than what these
Yeah.
heavier ones we have.
Yeah. Oh yeah, considerably.
But they're gonna be long to the ground too. With the only 4-wheel drive chassis, it runs up off the ground.
Well,
Gives more clearance.
The 2 present frontline ambulances we have, Y2 and 4, were both built with a 3-inch drop on the side to allow easier access inside the cab. The new designs don't have that. I cut that out because of the fact that the roll clearance is an issue for us. The 2 2-wheel drive also have on-spouts built into them, which are chain systems. They go and they spin. That's an option that was added into it to allow for better traction. The 2 back are the remounts and the 4-wheel drive ones. And the clearance is lower than it would be for an aftermarket 4-wheel drive system, but it's still a little bit higher. And actually, I believe the Commissioner Wilson was right about it being both sides of Y5 right now, maybe the height-wise. that stay consistent, so.
Is there a timeline on these bids?
There's not a timeline in place, however, they are 120 to 100, are you asking for when they'll be done, or to get?
Well, I mean, if we did table this, I'd like to hear from Rod. I don't see why you'd have to be recertified on an engine if it's a gasoline engine.
Right.
All you're talking about is carburation or the supply into the cylinders. And I don't see where you need to be recertified on that. I'd like to hear his point of view on this.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what you other guys think, but I'd like to table it too.
There's not a timeline as far as when the contracts have to be in. The only concern is they're at minimal 120 days out, 180 is about the normal for ambulances. So we're still looking at the second quarter next year before we'll get them.
You're talking 6 months for delivery?
Correct. That's both for remount and for in the new ones.
Why do we need to remount the arm?
We don't.
We just go with 2 new ones for now and wait and see what the millage does, then we worry about it.
Because the
Money
main
does it too.
we have the money available for it for one. For two, if we do go to a conversion, we want all of them to be the exact same so that there's not confusion how to work them. When you do that, you'll have problems with people putting gasoline in diesel engines and vice versa, or you'll have problems with 2 working propane, 2 not. It also doesn't entirely encompass our savings ability if only doing 2 at a time. The 2 that remounts were done as a remount option for a much cheaper cost. That was the point of doing it instead of going all brand new 4. We're much able to afford this. This money is in the account to allocate for these ambulances. So.
Well, the worry I got is you got 700 and some thousand in the budget. You use up 651,000. You don't get a millage, we're screwed.
Well,
that's what I'm worried.
If we don't get a millage, we're screwed either way, sir.
Pray we get them.
And actually, the total amount was for 569, 746 for 2 months and 2 new ones.
Say that again?
So the total amount was actually for 569, not 651.
569, 746.
After the discount, I ordered 2 though.
But then we will be selling the old ambulances and the old
Yes.
chassis or something. We'll be getting part of that back, which will go into the equipment fund.
We get it.
In the ideal situation, keeping White 2 and 4 would have been better, and getting 2 brand new ones to replace 3 and 5, which are our 2 oldest. The problem is our biggest problems are the maintenance costs, which 2 and 4 are. The replacement parts are far more expensive than your average ambulance would be, and that's why the concern is to move them while they're still sellable at a decent rate. Past this year or past 2 years from now, I'm not going to be able to get this price, which is $42,000 for both.
By this year, you mean this calendar year, 2014?
That's a good question.
January 1st?
I actually don't have that for you, I'm sorry. That's just meant, isn't like past, like if we don't do this now or result this price, we may not get it next time around. That's my concern. Year being is the next following year.
Yeah. Well, either we table it or we vote on it.
For table on that.
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion to table.
By your support.
Vote on it now.
That's correct.
I'll support it.
We have a motion by Wilson, supported by Christenberry, to table this for what period of time?
Well, I would think to the next meeting. I'd like I said, it sounds
Mr.
like
Wilson?
all we're waiting on is,
Is it gonna give Rob enough time? 2 weeks?
well, why wouldn't it?
What are we specifically tabling for? What are the concerns of the propane versus diesel, or the
Well, we
concerns?
just, yeah, I want to know if he's gonna have to be recertified.
Okay.
And other than that, I mean, I have no problems.
I want him on board with the engine, with the ambulances
I do
we're
too.
going to buy.
Yeah, I understand that.
That's basically what I want.
So we have it for 2 weeks. Is that sufficient?
Yeah.
All right. You want
And
to
then
add that to
Jason,
your motion?
if you can find
Add
out.
it to the motion and we'll bring it in the next meeting, which would be the 10th.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I'm on the-
Motion
oh,
passed.
second report.
So it's tabled for 2 weeks.
My dad seemed to.
Oh, yeah.
What, you just want to give it to me? You want to look at
Oh, does anybody want to take a break for 5 minutes? Okay, 5-minute break. Is there a motion? Motion. All in favor? Aye. 5-minute break.